welcome to our big summer trip. Starting it off here in Ukraine. On this trip we're gonna see many countries in Eastern Europe. Today we're having a day in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Gonna take you on a tour, show you the main sights of the city and also some hidden gems as always. I'm excited that you're here on this tour with me, so let me show you around Kiev. Alright, first stop of the day is the Golden Gate of Kiev. This was very important for fortification reasons in the past. Now you can enter it, it's kind of a museum. First impressions of Kiev are really good, everything looks really clean, and I definitely enjoy the Russian influence in the architecture of all of these churches here. It's very nice to walk around and it's also a beautiful day for it. Loved most so far in Kiev is the choice of the beautiful colors of all the buildings they have here, and of course also the golden turrets and roofs of all the cathedrals. The Cathedral of Saint Sophia is no different, we just checked it out, and you also have to climb up the bell tower of Saint Sophia Cathedral. You get an amazing view over all of Kiev, so I definitely recommend that. So the plan for now is to continue on exploring. There are loads of these cathedrals and monastery and monuments we want to see for today. First impressions are really good. We're now going from church to church. Just behind me is St. Andrew's Church and we've just been at St. Cyril's Church. These are quite far away, so you do have to get an Uber or some other form of transportation here in Kiev. Many things are too far to walk, but of course it's very cheap to get around and also fairly quick. Certainly plenty of churches and monasteries to see in Kiev, and it's worth checking out a few of them. It can get a bit samey because they all choose kind of the same color scheme. It's this turquoise and golden combination, so the cloisters look pretty similar, but all of them are very beautiful. And we are now at one where there's supposed to be some kind of catacombs. Sounds very interesting, so we're about to check that out. As you can see behind me, our next stop today is this monument right here. It remembers Ukraine's position during the Second World War, and there's also lots of other monuments around here and also quite a nice little park. Alright, and that has been our tour around Kiev, ending it there in Comfort Town, which is a new building project here in the outskirts of the city. Unfortunately, it's quite locked off, but it's beautiful with all the colored houses, and it has also won an architecture prize in 2019. Welcome back to Ukraine. Today I've got a bit of a different video for you, as we're not going on a fun sightseeing tour, but we're about to visit the Chernobyl exclusion zone. This is the area around the site of the nuclear reactor disaster that happened in 1986. To get there, you need to join a tour. It is not possible to visit the site on your own, so that's what we're doing today. Starting here in Kiev, it will take us about 2 hours to get to the zone. The first stop we made on this visit, after we went through passport control, was an abandoned village about 30 kilometers away from the power plant. It wasn't destroyed by radiation or anything like that, but living here was just a great health risk for the people, so they had to move away. Nevertheless, many villagers came back after the evacuation and lived in this village again for years. And actually the last person who lived here, an old lady, only just died recently. Next up, it was time to get closer to the reactor, so I think now is a good time to tell you more about what happened here over 30 years ago. On April 25th, 1986, a series of mistakes by technicians caused a chain reaction in the core of the power plant to get out of control. Several explosions triggered a large fireball and blew off the heavy steel and concrete lid of the reactor. As a consequence, large amounts of radioactive material was released into the atmosphere, where it was carried great distances by air currents. On April 27th, the 30,000 inhabitants of Pripyat, the town close by, began to be evacuated. A cover-up was attempted, but on April 28th, Swedish monitoring stations reported abnormally high levels of wind-transported radioactivity and pressed for an explanation. The Soviet government then admitted that there had been an accident at Chernobyl, and thus setting off an international outcry over the dangers posed by the radioactive emissions. Some sources state that 2 people were killed in the initial explosions, whereas others report that the figure was closer to 50. A dozen more contracted serious radiation sickness, and some of these people later died. Seeing the abandoned town of Pripyat probably had the biggest impact on me. You could see that human life just stopped here and nature took back over.
It's been a long night. Black skies glowing.
It was definitely an unforgettable sight and an unforgettable day overall. I'm glad we made this trip, and these are definitely memories that are gonna stick with us. Welcome to Ukraine and good morning from Odessa. This city is mainly known as Ukraine's party capital, but there's so much more to it. There are some beautiful sites, cathedral and historic places to see. That's what we're gonna focus on this morning. Then in the afternoon we're gonna go ahead and check out one of the beaches here. It's also my first time at the Black Sea, so there's loads to look forward to. Can't wait. Let's explore Odessa. impressions of Odessa. It's very loud, it's very busy, but there are certainly also some beautiful spots like this one right here. I'm now here at the bottom of the Potemkin stairs. This is probably the most popular tourist attraction in Odessa. People really like to come here and walk up the steps. This was a gift by a prince to his wife, and it definitely makes for a great entrance from the port into the city of Odessa. We've also just got our first glimpse of the Black Sea. It looks very nice, and I now want to head over to one of the beaches and have a swim in the Black Sea. Welcome to Moldova, a brand new country I have never been to before. Yesterday we took the bus from Odessa here to Chisinau. It was quite a long journey, about 5.5 hours, but it all went well at the borders, and that's the most important part, right? So here we are today in Chisinau, having a day to look around the city and check out this very underappreciated and unknown capital of Europe. It's often called the ugliest capital of Europe, or there's nothing to see, stuff like that. So I will have a close look today and find some good spots for you. Let's get this day started. First impressions of Chisinau, it's very quiet and peaceful. What a contrast to busy Odessa we've experienced over in Ukraine. I'm now just sitting in a little park next to the Triumph Arch. This one was built after the victory of the Russians over the Ottoman Empire. They had a war a few centuries ago. Alright, now gonna continue my look around the city. It's really small and quaint, so very relaxing city tour today. I'm no expert in architecture, but the architecture style of this city is definitely very interesting. It's a nice mix between old Soviet buildings and more classical buildings you would find in cities like Paris and Rome, for example. Must be the cutest monument I ever went to see in a city. This little prince statue is so tiny you can barely find it, but I definitely recommend you to come and see it. It's here inside Valea Morilor Park towards the north of the city, I think. It's very tiny, but you can find it on Google Maps, and it's just really funny and you have to take a picture with it. And that concludes my visit to Chisinau. There's really a lot more to see than I thought. I am pleasantly surprised. It's a very quiet and calm city, Really enjoyed my time here. Of course, if it's your first time in Europe, I don't recommend you to spend time here because there are other European capitals that have much more to offer. But if you have already seen quite a lot of the other cities, I do recommend you to come here because it's just interesting to see. Welcome to Moldova. I'm in the Moldavian countryside, to be more precise. I'm visiting Old ORHEI. Today it's about a 1 hour drive from Chisinau. Speaking of Chisinau, I explored Chisinau yesterday. I just wanted to see a bit more of this country and get outside of the city, outside of the capital. I'm now visiting this old monastery on this huge rock. It already looked spectacular when driving in. I'm gonna walk up there. It's quite the hill and check it out. It's gonna be quite a short video because getting out here is not that easy. I took a taxi and now the taxi is waiting for me. I have about an hour and then he will take me back to the capital. So it's a bit of a hurry. If you want to do it with public transport, it is possible, but quite difficult to do. Alright, let's head up there and check out the monastery. Up to the monastery is definitely already an attraction in itself. To the right you can see a very old and tiny village, and to the left of course the big drop with the view of the beautiful fields, green and yellow fields, and there are farmers working on it. It's very peaceful and really a nice experience just walking up, leading up to the monastery. So I kept walking now for a bit, took me about 5 minutes to get to the top of the hill and see the church they have here. I had a look inside, it's quite small but really cute. So take your time, have a look around the garden they have as well. It's very nice, and then come back and take in these beautiful views because that's obviously the best part about this area. So here we can get an overview of the site. I think you can also do some nice hikes in this area. There are some routes suggested here, and then up here we got some information about the place. The cave complex underneath the church you can see today was built in the 16th century, and then the church you can see was built in 1904. Alright, I'm now back at my hotel in Chisinau. Don't miss out if you visit this place, Old ORHEI. The cave monastery is very hidden. The entrance is underneath the first tower you'll see when you head up the hill to your right. Definitely go down there, there's a tunnel leading down and you can have a look inside the church underneath the earth, and then also get a nice view towards the valley on the other side out. Old ORHEI is a very nice day trip from Chisinau, very nice thing to do here in Moldova. It's definitely easier if you have your own car. Another option is to do what I did today, take a taxi, ask the taxi driver to wait for you and then take it back. It cost me about 50 to 60 euros in total, but you can also go with public transport as I said, but that might be a bit difficult. That concludes my time in Moldova. Overall, there are not tons of things to do here. There are a lot more exciting countries in Europe, but if you're looking for a destination that is a bit off the beaten track, Moldova could definitely be your spot. Welcome to Romania, yet another country I have never been to before, starting it off with a full day of city exploring in Bucharest. I got here yesterday with a 9-hour bus journey. This city is much larger than Chisinau, so there's loads to see. Let's get started right away and let's explore Bucharest. initial plan to head to the botanical gardens first didn't quite work out because they wouldn't let me in with my camera. So I'm now heading towards Old Town. This will give you a good idea how Bucharest looked before the Second World War. Should be very interesting. The old town of Bucharest. A few areas are obviously a bit run down, but it still has that typical European charm with a unique touch to it as well. And the weather is also super nice. For the first time on this trip there are actually some clouds in the sky, which makes it just a bit more enjoyable to explore the city. Gardens is a good example that Bucharest also has some more quiet spots. This is a beautiful park with a lake where you can also rent a boat and just have a chill out here in the city center. I always appreciate when cities have that, especially if it's a busy one as Bucharest. You really need a place to relax and get some shade from the sun. After seeing many more interesting sights, I have come to end my day in the King Mihai Park and the local lake they have here. Again, it's a spot where it's a bit more quiet. The city overall is very loud, but I had lots of fun today. Gonna explore more of Romania tomorrow, so stay tuned. Welcome to Romania. It's an early morning. This is one of those days I have been looking forward to the most, because we're heading out to the Romanian countryside, going to see the Carpathian Mountains, the Dracula Castle, Brasov. We're gonna check out the region of Transylvania. Should be amazing. I'm joining a tour and we're just starting in about half an hour. I'm expecting it to take up to 12 to 13 hours, so it's gonna be such an action-packed day and loads of footage to show you. So let's get started. Our first stop of the day was Palace Castle, and it blew me away as soon as we arrived. It is located in the picturesque town of Sinaia, surrounded by gorgeous mountains and forests. The building itself is a German New Renaissance masterpiece and was commissioned by King Carol I of Romania in 1873. The castle is pretty popular with tourists, and if you want to take pictures inside, you'll need to pay an extra fee. Of course, I couldn't resist buying it because I had to share this stunning architecture with all of you. We're having a lunch stop in Brasov, which is this small town with a beautiful old center. Really enjoyed the first castle we went to see, the Palace Castle, and after this lunch we're gonna head over to the main event, to Bran Castle, where the legend Dracula is from.
And there it finally was, Transylvania's main attraction, Bran Castle. Bran Castle is commonly known as Dracula's castle, but is inaccurately associated with the castle mentioned in Bram Stoker's story Dracula. Nevertheless, the castle looks incredible on top of its rock foundation near the river and perfectly fits the image one would have of a vampire home. In reality, Bran Castle was a military fortification built by knights in the 13th century and is now a frequently visited museum.
So just got out of Bran Castle, you can still kind of recognize it there behind me. It was nice to get inside, but oh my god, it was so overcrowded in there. They let way too many people in. We literally had to queue through the whole castle. Nevertheless, it was nice to see, and we're now heading back to Bucharest, where I'll talk a bit more about the experience of the whole day. Okay, that was a long tour day. We started off at Peles Castle, then went to Brașov, and then finally to the Dracula Castle, Bran Castle. And I must say, definitely enjoyed Peles Castle a lot more. As I said before, Bran Castle was very crowded. Overall, I definitely recommend you to visit this region. Try and book a tour that also includes something else than the Bran Castle, because I think if you only visit Bran Castle you might be a bit disappointed. It looks great from the outside, but then inside nothing too special and also very overcrowded. Of course, the story makes up for it a bit, and I'm glad I went there. That's it for Romania, but there's loads more to come on this trip. Welcome to Serbia and good morning from Belgrade. I'm currently staying in the Zemun neighborhood and there's no running water at the moment in this part of the city. So we'll have to figure that out later on. But for now, let's go and explore Belgrade. It's the capital of the country. There are many exciting things to see and I can't wait to get out there. So let's get started right away. I'm staying in the Zemun neighborhood. It's a great place to visit, one for the Gordas Tower, but also for the views you get across the city, and you can also see the Danube River. It's really nice. I've made my way over to the fortress of Belgrade. Centuries ago, people lived inside these city walls, and that was basically the city of Belgrade. It was founded by a Celtic tribe, and then the fortification was built up by the Romans. So let's go have a look inside. It's free to enter. Exploring the fortress, I have come to Skadarlica. No idea if I said that right, but this is pretty much the artist neighborhood. You can find some cool wall decorations, graffitis here, and it's also the perfect place to get a coffee after lunch. Surprised by this city. Didn't expect that there were as many things to see, and originally I didn't even plan on coming to Serbia. I didn't think that I'd have the time for it, but I'm very glad it has worked out and I'm definitely enjoying my day today. The last stop of our tour today is the Saint Sava Church. In my opinion, the most impressive sight you can see here in Belgrade. It is the biggest Orthodox church in the Balkans and the second biggest Orthodox church in the world. It's very impressive. Also inside, it really is the highlight of the city.
Today I'm in Novi Sad, the second biggest city of the country, to do some sightseeing, to explore a new place. So we're gonna head into the center of the city and explore Novi Sad. I've now made it to the city center and to St. George's Church. This church is quite special because from the outside it looks like a Catholic Baroque church, but inside it's an Orthodox church, so that's a very rare thing. Just also wanted to say this trip to Novi Sad is easy to do as a day trip from Belgrade. There are buses every half hour. It's very easy. You get to the bus station and then you have to walk about 20 minutes or so to the center of the city. Of course, you can also come here to Novi Sad and spend the night. There are plenty of hotels. In my opinion, it's already worth coming to Novi Sad. For the old town itself, just had a stroll around there, and the buildings are really beautiful, very colorful. Really enjoy it so far. But they also have a nice park. It's called Danube Park, and it's very close to the Danube River. Obviously the Danube River flows through Novi Sad first and then goes down to Belgrade after. So we're gonna head over to the river and have a look. The city fortress is without a doubt the coolest thing to see in Novi Sad. You get an amazing view over the whole city, or at least I hope so, because I'm on the way up there now. Just wanted to tell you a bit more about the history of this castle, this fortress. For a very long time it was owned by the Ottoman Empire, and then it was overtook by the Austrians and now belongs to Serbia. So let's go up and have a look around. That concludes my visit to Novi Sad. Compared to Belgrade, it seems very small, so it's easy to walk around the whole city, see everything on foot.
Welcome to Bulgaria. I'm in Sofia. Got here yesterday with a plane from Belgrade. Originally I wanted to come with a bus, but currently due to the ongoing pandemic it's really difficult to cross borders, and I was unsure if there's even a bus across the border. So I'm here in the capital of the country, but I'm not gonna explore Sofia for now. That's the next video coming up on this channel. Today I'm heading out on a tour to the Rila Monastery. This monastery was built in the 10th century and it's one of Bulgaria's most interesting sights to see. So I can't wait to get out there. The bus is going to pick me up at a central location in the city very soon, and then we will head out to the mountains.
Before we headed to Rila Monastery, we stopped by Bojana Church. This is a medieval Bulgarian Orthodox church that was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List, and it was really cool to see this. The church was built in the 10th century and was expanded multiple times throughout history. The best thing about this church is its interior, as there are some beautifully detailed paintings to see. Unfortunately, they are really strict and they don't allow any pictures inside the church. Another reason to come to this site is the beautiful sequoia tree they've got in their garden. It was imported by a foreigner from the United States and now looks pretty impressive in their garden. It's also the first one I've ever seen, so that was also really cool. Alright, let's head to Rila Monastery now. So this is it, the monastery of Saint Ivan of Rila. It is the most important spiritual center of Bulgaria and it's located in the stunning Rila mountains. There is so much to say about the history of this place, but I will keep it short. The monastery was founded by Saint John of Rila, a hermit that was loved by the people of this area in the 10th century. Rila Monastery is a shining example of the local culture and the art of Christian building technique in the Balkans. When you're visiting, make sure to make enough time to visit also the interior of the church, because you'll find a stunning display of the stories of the monastery. By the way, Rila Monastery is still a monastery to this day, which means that guests need to be considerate and respectful towards the monks and believers that visit this site. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this look around Rila Monastery, a bit of a shorter video. We just went there, had a look around the monastery and then also stopped on the way there at the Bojana church. This day tour really didn't take too long compared to the Dracula Castle excursion I for example did in Bucharest. This one was a very easy tour and a very chill day, so I definitely recommend to do this tour out to Rila Monastery from Sofia. Very nice and easy to do. There are plenty of tours going out there. Welcome to Bulgaria and good morning from Sofia. I finally get the time to explore this capital. I already saw a few bits and I'm very impressed so far. But today I'm gonna go on a self-guided tour around the city and I'm gonna show you all the monuments, impressive churches and basically everything there is to see here in Sofia. So let's get out there and let's explore Sofia. So I'm starting the day at the obvious highlight of the city, the Alexander Nevsky Church. You really have to be here to understand the sheer size of this church. It's about 100 years old and the decorations on the outside are just beautiful. Now let's head inside and have a look around there. So unfortunately I cannot show you pictures from inside the Alexander Nevsky Church. It does look very beautiful, but it costs €6 to take the camera inside and take a few pictures. I think that's a bit much. I'm now in front of Saint Sophia Church. It's very interesting, this church actually gave the name to the city Sofia. Sofia originally had a different name, but travelers that came here in the 13th century just saw Sofia the church and said, okay, this is Sofia. So they changed the name of the city after this cathedral was built. If you're not into churches and cathedral, then Sofia might not be for you, but if you are, you're gonna love this city. I'm literally going from church to church, and here's another one, the
oldest building in town. This one was built in the year 300, so pretty impressive. So it has just started raining this afternoon in Sofia, so I'm heading inside to check out the National Archaeological Museum. So that was a nice little museum. Good thing to notice is also that they let you take pictures inside the museum for free in this one, because in many other museums here in Sofia they charge an extra fee for that. Changes every second, but we already got an amazing view of the lakes down here. And that's when I had to stop filming because all of a sudden it started raining hard and the wind picked up. Since I also didn't pack for a hiking holiday, I didn't have the right clothes with me and we had to get down as soon as possible. Going down all the way, however, wasn't possible because they had shut the chairlift due to the storm. So we found ourselves in a packed mountain hut with everybody trying to warm up somehow around the fire. In the end, they put the chairlift back on and we got down, got home safe. It was a great experience and a great day out. The 7 Rila lakes are a must visit in my opinion if you are in Bulgaria, and it's quite easy to get there with a tour company. There are many companies available, so I won't mention a specific one, but you can either just book the transportation, which takes about 1.5 hours with the bus from Sofia, or you can also book a guide. Due to the rapidly changing weather conditions, it does make sense to have a guide with you. For the last time, welcome to Bulgaria. I'm in Plovdiv in an Airbnb high above the city. I'm gonna go out and see what Plovdiv is all about. This is the last video from my trip to Eastern Europe, and Plovdiv is looking to be just another highlight. This is one of the oldest cities in Europe, which means that it has been inhabited for a very, very long time. The Romans were here, so there are some beautiful sights to see today. So let's get started right away and let's explore Plovdiv. I'm starting the day in a beautiful city park. You can find this place on Google Maps if you type in the Singing Fountains. Now it's called the Singing Fountains because there's a fountain show going on in the lake over there. That's not on for the moment. I don't know if it will be on in the evening or if it's cut off because of COVID. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful park to start the day. People are watching like puppet theaters and it's just a beautiful atmosphere around here. You might know that there's the Roman Forum in Rome, Italy, but Plovdiv has its own Roman Forum as well. It's beautiful to see some stunning archaeological work to admire just right here next to the Singing Fountains Park. I'm pretty sure I've made it to the coolest spot in the city, the ancient theater. And as you can see, it's still in use. They're building something for a new show coming up, but you can still visit it. It's 2 left for students and I think about 10 left for just a regular admission. It's a really cool thing to see and quite special as well. What I really like about the old town of Plovdiv is that it's still very authentic. People still live here. It's the old core of the city. There are cobblestone paths. It hasn't been taken over by fancy shops or cars. It really is just a calm neighborhood with old buildings, and it's great to check out on foot. Plovdiv is famous for its various hills across the city, and I'm now on one of them just at the top of Old Town. Get a few good views across the city from up here, and there's also an old fortress, well, at least the ruins of it, that you can come and see here. I'm now climbing one of the other hills of Plovdiv, and it's quite the hike up here to this statue. It's really cool. There are loads of plants, a real off-road adventure. Great views there over Plovdiv to wrap up this trip to Plovdiv, but also the whole trip to Eastern Europe. I hope you enjoyed it. We have visited Ukraine, Moldova, Serbia, Romania and now Bulgaria together. If you haven't seen the previous videos from this trip, I highly recommend you to go and check them out. Thank you very much for watching this trip. There's a new one coming soon, I promise. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.